Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. So today we're going to talk about the conspiracy of Catiline, which is all of section 5 that we're going to cover. So we've moved on from Verres, and now we're talking about Catiline. So Catiline is probably the biggest enemy that Cicero ever had, and these speeches are the most famous that Cicero ever gave. So to start with, we'll talk about 5a1, which we won't be reading, but it's good for context. So it takes place in the summer of 64 BC, that is, and all of the writings we have up until a certain point are going to be by Sallust. So he's a historian. He writes after Catiline and Cicero's time, and he writes about the Catilinarian conspiracy specifically. So he is very dramatic. He has a lot of fun turns of phrase, so I think you'll like him a lot. So in 5a1, Fulvia, who is a lover of one of the conspirators of Catiline, reveals his plans, specifically his plans for revolution against the Roman state. And this is very bad for Catiline because he is currently running for consul against Cicero, and that means that he loses. So Cicero wins the consulship, and Catiline is kind of left to the side to create more revolutionary devices. One fun thing that I don't think I've mentioned before, but is really worth knowing, is that the name Cicero actually means chickpea because of a nose that looked kind of like a chickpea, is the idea, at least in Plutarch. So there's that to consider. Alright, moving on to 5a2, which is the text you will actually be reading for the weekend. 5a2 is possibly one of my favorite texts in this entire book, so hopefully you enjoy it. It's pretty short, but just so full of amazing things. So 5a2 talks about the women conspirators who are involved with Catiline. So some of you have been asking about the role of women in ancient Rome, and I kind of hedge saying that there's not one role for women, and here you see that women can be conspirators, just like men were. So it talks kind of generally about the types of women that were involved, and then specifically it gets to Sempronia, who is one of my favorite women in ancient Rome. So she's described with all these amazing descriptions by Sallust. So first we have the deeds that she commits are deeds of manly audacity, whatever that means. It talks about how beautiful she is and that she has a good husband and children, and yet she still does all of these things. So she's described as literis Graecis et Latinis docta, so learned in Latin and Greek letters, which is amazing because all of you are now docta literis Latinis, or doctus literis Latinis, depending. So you are also learned in Latin letters, which is very cool. She is magis docta, so more learned, cantu et saltatione. So she's more learned in singing and dancing than is necessary for a matron, whatever that means. So for some reason she just is better at dancing and singing than anyone would expect for a matron, which is a little suspicious. So that's very cool. And then it just goes on to talk more about her, how she seeks out women, or she seeks out men instead of being sought out as one would expect. And then it gets to all of these things she's able to do. So Passa, she is able to versus facere, to create verses, so she can write poetry. Iokumoera, to move jokes or make jokes. She can joke around with people. The different types of conversation she uses depending on the context. And then it finally talks about how charming she is. So she's just very cool. I would really like to meet her if I could meet anyone from the ancient world. So I hope you enjoy the text, and I will see you all on Monday. Enjoy your weekends.